right, so my name is Jonas, and I didn't get your names yet. Joanne.
Sharon.
Joanne. Sharon. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for
Jonas.
coming. Now,
Yeah.
do you two know each other? Or?
No.
No. Okay, so you just came out just to see me. Thank you. We'll be friends by the end.
Okay.
I figured a good way to start. Remember, I use magic as an engagement and teaching tool. So to get us engaged, to get us started, I'm going to tell you a little story. And I'll tell you the whole story, but it's probably best if we start at the beginning. I call this the whole story because it's about a card with a hole on it. Therefore, it is a whole card. Now, of course, I also have a whole card that's called the whole card because it doesn't have a hole. Therefore, it's a whole card. I have another whole card that's a whole card because it doesn't have a hole, but this is a whole card because it does have a hole. You see, you're following me.
Yeah, I got it.
Here's the trick. You can do several tricks, but here's one of them. You turn one of the whole cards around, and we get a spot card. We can do the same illusion with this one. Put it right here. We get the illusion of two spot cards. Now that's neat, but that's not really the trick I wanted to show you. You can actually take this one. This is actually a real spot card. You actually feel that. That is not coming off. That is a real, honest to goodness spot card. Now that's one of the tricks. That's not the trick I want to show you. You can take two whole cards, put them together for a spot, two whole cards, no spots. You could get spots if you say the magic words. You know what the magic words are?
Oh, my kids would say please and thank you.
I like that.
Is that wrong?
Oh, no. I don't think I've ever heard the wrong answer.
Oh, okay.
So please and thank you. I love it. And we get a whole bunch of spots. So we have a whole bunch of spots over here. We have a whole card that has a spot, two whole cards, no spots. This is what I want to show you. You see, this whole card is also a spot card. It's just that you can't see the spot because it's red on red. If we transfer over to the other whole card, now we have a whole card that has a spot. We have a whole card with a spot that we can't see. We have a whole bunch of spots, and we have a spot card with a hole, and that is the whole.
Oh,
thank you.
Yes,
very much.
That's great.
Now that's not the story I wanted to tell you, though.
Oh, the whole story? Wasn't the whole story?
That was the whole part of that story. Where what I really want to show you is
It was the whole part of the story.
what I want to show you is the world's fastest card trick. The world's fastest. Would you like to see it again?
Yeah.
It was a little quick. I'll slow it down. Do any of you play cards? Or either of you play cards?
I have.
You have in the past, just not much lately.
No.
What's your game of choice? What do you like to play, or used to like to play?
What's the use like poker?
Poker. You see, no one is willing to play cards with me. They always think I'm going to cheat in some way. The truth is, I know how to cheat, but I would never cheat with friends. But we're going to do a quick game, very simple game. You just think of a card. Think of any card you like. Now, most people think of like Ace of Spades or Queen of Hearts. Those are the two emotional cards. The Ace of Spades, card of death. Queen of Hearts, symbolically the card of love. Were you thinking of any of the emotional cards?
No, I wasn't.
You know what this tells me? It could mean that you're more of a rational person. You like to think critically. Is that true? I hope so. I hope so for all of us too. I mean, that's kind of the purpose of this presentation too, ultimately. So for the first time, could you please tell us, what card are you thinking of?
7 spades.
7 of spades. Inside this deck, I have the 7 of spades. Somewhere. That's not the trick though. The 7 of spades is a very special card. It's the only one that I place inside the deck. Face down. Did you say 7 of spades?
Yes.
There you go.
No.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Wonderful. What's your name?
Joanne.
Joanne. I'm going to put this to memory. Joanne.
It's one word with an E.
One with with an E. That's very important. It's like Anne of Green Gables with an E. Anne with an E. Joanne.
What's your name again?
Sharon.
Sharon. No E.
No. How much you want?
We could we could put it in, I suppose.
Yeah.
Now, Sharon, you saw how Joanne, we did the world's fastest card trick. for you, I have something very special. This is the world's longest card trick.
Ah,
This one takes about 5 hours.
okay.
It's
I'll
actually-
be back.
We'll speed it up though, because we only have an hour
Oh,
for
okay.
this. Now, I'm not going to have you pick your card. You're going to choose a card at random. So you thought of a card at random, but it may have been based off of past experience in some way. But this way, wherever you say stop.
Stop.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I suppose I was at the top. Do you want the top card?
Sure.
Okay. I'm not going to look at it. Just take the top card. Do not show me. Do not show me. You can show Joanne. Show Joanne. And you may place it back inside of that. Just yeah.
Thank you.
Show the camera. Hi, everyone at home. Hello.
Hi there.
Just say stop.
Stop.
Right there. You can place it back. Perfect. Now I don't know what your card is. There's no. I know where it is. It's in the deck somewhere, but I'm not going to just go through the cards. You see, inside of this magic folder, I have a very special card from a different deck of cards, and I'm hoping that it's your card. You're shaking your head
It
no.
can't be.
It can't
It
be.
cannot be.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
I'm going to show you how the impossible can become possible. Because here we have the Three of Hearts. Is that your card? I meant to say this other folder over here. We have.
Or was that the wrong answer?
Oh, that's my book.
Should I said yes?
No, that really wasn't your card.
Joanne,
Was
that
it
my
close? Was it? It was a 3.
No.
I mean, it was a heart.
Yes.
Oh, I was half right.
Card? You're half right.
Was it the 4 of hearts?
Oh, no.
Was it the 5 of hearts?
No.
6,
No.
7.
No.
Are you telling me it was the 8 of hearts? Was that your card? The 8? The world's longest card trick. Thank you very much. Isn't she fun?
No, you're the one that's
Oh,
fun.
I'm the fun guy. I'm the mushroom over here. All right.
Oh, I thought you made a mistake. I thought, oh my gosh, this is embarrassing.
I think I make mistakes all the time.
Oh.
And
It's coming.
you believed it. I appreciate it.
She's your friend.
Yeah.
No, it's
And that's really what this is all about. You know, we think we make mistakes, but instead of going to frustration and then anxiety and then despair, but going to fascination and getting excited, being inspired by it, and how can we co-create with reality positive outcomes regardless of what's going on around us, regardless of circumstances, regardless of our criticisms. That's ultimately what this presentation is all about today. And I've been doing this here in Brattleboro for the past, probably been a year and a half, 2 years now. I come every month, usually the first or second Friday of the month, to share some stories, to share some ideas, of course to share some magic, to get us started, get us excited, get us interested, get us engaged. I have a process that's called the 5 E's of positive influence. The first 3 are the most important for here. It's engage, empower, and encourage. Ultimately, the last 2 are the most important that we're going toward, which is enjoyment and excellence. What we can do here is engage, empower, and encourage. What I like about coming to Brattleboro, now you folks are from Brattleboro
I've been living there
for a long time, so it's your practically your home now.
Oh, it is my home.
Yeah, it's your home now.
Sure.
Brattleboro is I kind of think of this as my home away from home. It's I just really I like this community. Very nice people. As you know,
Where are you from?
I'm from Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Palmer. Yeah, so it's the Springfield area. It's a couple towns over from Springfield. And what I really like about Brattleboro, again, it's nice people. I get to travel around a lot, sharing my magic, sharing the positivity. And one of the least positive experiences I've had on the road, I was on tour with a band. I was their opening act doing my magic show. The band was called The Ear, the Eye, and the Arm. I like to think of myself as the leg, because I helped with a lot of the legwork, carrying equipment from the tour van to the venue. I think that's why they really invited me, was to help with the equipment. And this one time, we made our way through Pennsylvania. We went all the way as far down south as Washington, D.C., as far north as Burlington, Vermont. But on our way through Pennsylvania, we stopped for a show in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we had just finished unloading all of the equipment. And I went back out to the van to get my suitcase so I could get ready to do my show. And just as I got outside, there were these two street thugs lurking about. I knew there were street thugs because I've watched television. They were just like the ones on TV. They had hoods and everything. So I knew to run away. So that's what I did. My gut instinct was to retreat back to the safety of the club. That's what I wanted to do. But then I second-guessed myself. I hesitated. And I hesitated because I thought, I don't actually know that these are street thugs. I don't know anything about these people. This is just a couple of guys I know nothing about. That's just society telling me. That's just the media telling me, be afraid of these people. So, I decided to ignore my fears, and I went to the van anyway. And just as I got to the van, they proceeded to mug me. They pushed me up against the van, and they took my wallet. Now, I had never been mugged before, so this was all very exciting. Have you ever been mugged? You have. You have. So you know how exciting it is. It's not, I don't recommend it, but it is exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Your heart races.
Oh, yeah.
It's exciting.
It's exciting.
Are you okay? Were they like...
They just took my purse and ran away.
Was it in Pittsburgh?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Now, it all happens very quickly.
Yeah.
As soon as it starts, it's over, and then then you're sort of in a daze. I wandered back into the club just in time to be told it was time to start the show. So I walked up onto stage and I said, so I was just mugged outside. And everyone thought it was part of the show. They thought it was a joke. I was like, no, I'm serious. It's terrible to be here. I don't want to be in Pittsburgh anymore. I want to go home. And I'm telling you this story because it ties into what we're talking about today, because I realized that I could learn something from this experience. Instead of being frustrated by it, I could be fascinated by it. And I realized that the muggers were actually rather kind. As nice as muggers can be. This is what happened. Right after they pushed me up against the van, this is what they said. It was all in their words. Our words have power. They said, stay cool. Give it up.
I mean, yeah.
So you see what happened. They said to stay cool. And in order to stay cool, you have to already be cool. They thought I was a cool guy. So,
okay.
yeah.
Not yet cool, but
Yeah, they thought I was a cool guy.
Yeah.
So as a gesture of my appreciation, I gave them my wallet. But here's the thing, I didn't know how much to tip. What's the standard, 15% or somebody's at 20%? I don't really know. I mean, they took everything anyway. But if it didn't happen so quickly, if they would have slowed it down a little bit, I could have thought to give them the PIN numbers for my bank card. That would have been a nice gesture. But again, it's all about being fascinated and learning from this experience. And I learned something even more. I now know the true meaning of the name Pittsburgh Steelers. As they stole from me the football. Now I tell you this, it is a true story. This actually happened to me. I used to tell this story in another presentation just as a joke. Because I love ridiculous puns. I love absurd jokes. I think I even wrote a book called Absurd Jokes. So I used to tell that just as a joke. But one day someone came up to me after my presentation and he told me that he loved the Pittsburgh story. And I always like to get feedback to know what's resonating with people, so I know what to focus on, what to continue focusing on. And he told me that what he liked was that if he had been in that same situation, he wouldn't have been able to find a way to laugh at it. And that really got me to thinking that you you could take two different people and put them in the same situation. One person can walk away bitter and frustrated. The other person can walk away fascinated by the whole thing. It comes down to what is the perspective that we're approaching life with? What lens are we using to focus on things? And that's really the foundation of positivity. It's the foundation of happiness, really, is what are we choosing to focus on? There's a levels of happiness that I've discovered through my readings, through the people that I've talked to, and it starts, the foundation, like the ground floor, the dirt, it starts with acceptance. From acceptance, we could either go up or it can drag us down. And acceptance is important because we often take responsibility for things that we have no control over. And it's like the idea, if we want to try and control the weather, we're going to be frustrated every time. We cannot control the weather. If we want to, we can either work with gravity or we can work against gravity. But if we were to jump off this deck, we would get hurt every time. We can work with gravity, maybe get an airplane, right? But it's the idea of acceptance. Scientists have estimated, researchers have estimated that happiness comes down to three things. There's our biology, there's our DNA, there's our circumstances, and then there's our choices or our attitude or our mindset. And it's not that the DNA, our biology, accounts for 50%. So 50% is just a gamble, however you came out. That's sort of the baseline. We can either go up from there or down from there. 10% is our circumstances. So if we have just random good circumstances, it's a positive experience. If we have negative experiences, it goes down a little bit, but it starts at that 50%, it goes up or down. Now, of course, we could control some of our circumstances. We can set ourselves up to have positive experiences. We can also set us up for bad experiences too, but some experiences, again, are out of our controls. We can't control other people, their actions, we can't control their emotions, how they interact with us, we can't control their words. But the other 40%, of happiness, scientists estimate, is our personal choices. It's the mindfulness that we choose to go into things, it's our attitudes, it's our mindset, it's the words that we use. That's our own choice, and that could really be a tipping point. That can really be a game changer for our happiness. Even if the other 60% isn't going in our favor, we can really, that could be the tipping point between frustration and fascination. And I say frustration and fascination because from acceptance, if we're not engaged, if we're not curious, if we're not trying to be proactive, then that brings us down to frustration. It even can bring us down to like a confusion, like why is life this way? But it's more of like focusing on the negative. Whereas a curiosity is about how can I improve this? That brings us into fascination. So those 5 levels, again, it starts with acceptance. We just accept that we can't control everything, but we take responsibility for what we can. From there it goes to fascination. It's a positive curiosity. From there we become inspired, which is when we seek out empowerment, which is when we read books. It's when we talk to friends. It's when we take classes. It's when we seek mentors. So we become empowered in some way. From there we become motivated. That's when we take action. It's when we jump into action. It's not just, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power, but it's what we do with what we know. So that's motivation, when we actually take action. From there, that's when we get to an important part, which is when we, it's affirmation. We become affirmed. Now, affirmations could be positive or negative, because affirmation, we could also, if we surround ourselves with the wrong people who are negative, they can affirm our negative anxieties and frustrations. But this is the positive form of affirmation, which leads ultimately to the highest form of happiness, which is what I call joy. that's regardless of what our ambitions are. That's regardless of the things that we succeed at, or as long as we're trying to grow every day, we can still experience joy, even when things don't work out, because we're growing. It's more of a character. It's more of a virtue than something we have or something we achieve. It's all about striving for something more. So those are the levels of happiness. Of course, the levels of despair and sadness that goes up. Ultimately, joy, the opposite would be despair, and choosing to surround ourselves with positive individuals can bring us to one or the other. But it does come down to a perspective. I had an experience. It didn't happen to me, but I met someone. And the experience of meeting this person really changed my views on it. This was 11 years ago. I was performing magic at a restaurant, La Notte Restaurant in East Windsor, Connecticut. My job was to go table to table performing magic tricks for people as they waited for their food to arrive. What was great is that it kept them engaged. Again, going to the engaged, empower, encourage. It kept them engaged, instead of wondering why their food wasn't out yet. That was my real job, was distracting. So I was going table to table, and on this one particular night, I performed for this elderly couple. I'm a horrible judge of age. I cannot. I wouldn't even be able to guess my own age if I didn't have a driver's license. I'm just a horrible judge of age. So if I had to guess, though, this couple, they must have been around 120 years old. Give or take a few years. They were really old. And so I performed some magic tricks for them. And then I went to another table on the other side of the room. And I did some magic for them. But just as I was finishing performing for that table, there was a commotion on the other side of the room. And this woman, the elderly woman, was choking on her food. And, which will happen, but she was able to cough it up quickly. Yeah, so it was okay. Oh, okay, she's going to be fine. But she was visibly distraught by this. So much more than just a simple, I didn't chew enough and now it's coughed up, I'm fine now. But she was very distraught. So I see my job, again, as distracting people from negative experiences and trying to make them have a positive experience. So I went back to their table to distract them. Now, I didn't perform any magic tricks for them anymore, but the woman shared with me her story. And this story is really one that really opened my eyes to seeing that 10% of circumstances that can account for happiness or sadness or positivity, negativity, how that 10%, if you look at it in the right way, could always be a positive thing. This is what happened. It was just a few weeks earlier. This couple was sitting in the same restaurant, sitting at the same table, and she also choked on her food. So I stopped her right there and I said, "You might want to sit at a different table." Thinking the table had something to do with it. She didn't think it was funny. But she ignored my absurd joke and continued. She said that on this day she couldn't cough up her food. And she just could not cough it up. And a guy at the bar had to come over and perform the Heimlich on it. Just kept pounding and pounding at this frail 120-something-year-old woman. Just pounding it. Her husband told me that at one point her face lost all. It was like almost turning gray. It was, she could not breathe. And then perhaps before it would have been too late. Finally, she was able to cough it up and breathe. Now, of course, it was taking so long, but by this point, the paramedics had been called. And when they arrived, even though she was breathing fine, after hearing how long this guy had to pound this, they thought maybe he broke some of her ribs or something. So they brought her to the hospital as a precaution. When they got to the hospital, the doctors didn't find any broken ribs. But what they did find was an aneurysm that was about to burst. I mean, this was someone's mother, someone's great grandmother, great grandmother. She had gone her entire life and had this horrible experience, this near-death experience. Had that not happened, she surely soon would have died. And yet there could be a young woman no more than 26 years old, and then it could just be their turn. This perspective. How are we looking at this? Now, it can be said that there's be nothing good about sadness and chaos and despair and all these terrible circumstances, but just as choking on a piece of food can have a profound, greater meaning for our lives. Perhaps things like chaos and sadness and tragedy, perhaps those too can have a greater meaning so long as we don't let it get the best of us. It was Napoleon, I think it was Napoleon Hill who said that sometimes the worst things that can happen to us could be the best thing for us, so long as we don't let it get the best of us. Now this positive mental attitude approach is certainly easier said than done. I'm not convinced that woman perhaps even saw the positive side of that at first. You know, she just was focusing on trying to survive. She had just gone through this terrible experience. But after reflection, it's often said that experience is the best teacher. But just as they say that knowledge is power, it's really knowledge is potential power. It's what we do with it. And also experience is not necessarily the best teacher, but it's reflective experience. So we can experience everything all day long, but unless we use that to grow in some way, it's as if it never happened. I have something, a little activity for you folks to put this into practice. I'll call this a couple of different things. Let me give you this one. Do you like word searches? I hate word searches. I can never find the words. But this has a purpose. This has a purpose. Let's see.
I got a pen.
Oh, you have I have a couple pens too if you need one. So before I give this to you, I'm just going to tell you what it is, so that you know kind of what to expect. It's a word search that has 10. There's 10 words that you have to find. They'll either go left to right, up to down, or sideways. And the idea is to see how many of these these are positive words. So we're not focusing on the negative. It's positive words, because these words can either lift us up or they can drag us down. We're going to focus on the positive experiences here. And I'll give you 3 minutes. I'll put 3 minutes on the clock. You might find all of them. You might find most of them. You might not find any. If you're like me, you might not find any. When you see how many you can find in a 3-minute time. And you have a pen? Yeah. All right.
So what are we doing? We're finding the word?
Oh yeah, but yep, you're
The
gonna.
second one?
Yep. You can start with the first one, or you can just go through. Let's see.
All these words are in here, I guess.
They are all there. I think I have the key to
There's
this.
another one that's not.
And 1 minute left. Thirty seconds. All right, and time. All right, how did we do?
So I think a couple that weren't on page right.
So
I
I
don't know
think
if they can.
I think you discovered perhaps the secret to this word search, because secretly I did put words in there that's not on the list, and I did that for a reason. But how many of the words from the list did you find? How many did you find? You found 5. So you found half. That's awesome.
No, that's kind of yeah, 4.
You found 4 from the
Actually,
list.
I really found 5 because look, I did enjoy that look.
Oh, enjoyment. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay, so you found 5 and you found 5. Okay, so we got. If I had given you probably 6 minutes, you probably would have found them all. So you found half the words that were on the list. How many words did you find that are not on the list? You found 2, did you say?
1. I think I found 2, but looks like this one.
Did you find any? So which word did you find?
Power, yeah. Empathy.
Empathy is also on the list. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yep. So what I like about this then is you found another positive word, but secretly I hid negative words in there too. Words like despair, words like, actually I don't even remember all the words on there, probably grief. What is it? Doubt is probably. Guilt.
Anger.
Yeah. You're seeing it now, right? But you didn't see it before. And that's what this is all about. When we consciously choose to look for positive things in life, we're going to find them. Now, the world is, of course, filled with positive and negative things. It's also filled with neutral things that we can just ascribe a label to. But we're filled with conflicting influences all over the place. When we choose to look for something, whether it's positive or negative, we have a better chance of finding it. Now, of course, along the way, we might find some other things along the way. Those are the 10% of our experiences that we can't control, right? We might find those negative influences. But if we choose to only circle the positive ones, focus on the positive ones, we're going to find those. Now, if I had given you a list of all negative words, you probably would have found 5 negative words, 10 negative words. But this is all about choosing the perspective that we're going to look at things. Do we let things lift us up, or do we want them to drag us down? Some people at this point, I've been accused of wearing rose-colored glasses, which is a fair assessment. You know, if we're saying, look at the bright side of life, look at the positive. You know, they say, well, not everything is positive. Well, that's true. That's true. And sometimes having a positive attitude could be misguided if we're not careful. When I was a kid, I was 13 years old. I was invited to do a magic show at my high school talent show, and this was a really big deal for me because I had become known as the magic boy at school. So I would be in the halls, and teachers would pull me into their classrooms to perform for their students, and so I was just known as the magic boy. So this was the first opportunity. Get in front of the entire school all at once. I wanted to do something big. I wanted to impress my fellow peers. So I decided to do something big. And I thought, well, what could be more big than a death-defying feat? So I decided to do a version of Russian roulette. Not with a revolver, though. You know, I was 13, high school. You can't bring a gun into, well, you're not supposed to. But I was a good boy. So I didn't bring a gun into school. But what I did instead was I was inspired by science class. I took test tubes. Each test tube I filled with water. One of them I filled with hydrochloric acid. Now this is colorless. It's odorless, it looks and it smells just like water, but it doesn't taste like water. The idea was that I would be blindfolded, and I would have someone from the audience mix up all the test tubes, and then they would guide me behind the table, and I would drink from all of the test tubes, except for the one that had the acid. That was the idea. Enter 13-year-old me the night of the talent show. I'm blindfolded. Test tubes are mixed up. And the very first test tube I drank had the acid.
Oh my God.
And everyone just laughed and laughed because they thought it was part of the show. They wouldn't think, yeah, Jonas wouldn't really drink hydrochloric acid. Why would he do that? That would be ridiculous. Well, I'm ridiculous. So I ran off stage. I ripped off the blindfold, ran off the stage, and I have water back there trying to rinse my mouth out. And meanwhile, I have a wireless lapel microphone on, so everyone can hear what's going on. I'm running around saying, "Get my mother," because of course my mother was in the audience at this point, freaking out. Her 13-year-old son just drank hydrochloric. I mean, of course I didn't tell her I was going to do this in my act. She wouldn't have let me. I wanted, because she's a good mother, and I'm a ridiculous boy. So my mother is rushing us to the hospital. So there I am. I'm in the passenger seat of the car. My mom is frantically bringing me to the hospital. I'm hanging out the window, spitting, because I can't swallow my own saliva. Because I didn't drink all the acid. As soon as it went on my mouth, I knew. Water isn't supposed to fizz in my mouth. So I knew right away to spit it out, but I did swallow some. So I'm spitting this saliva. And even in this horrible situation, I had the presence of mind to turn to my mother and say, "We must never speak of this." I was already thinking about all the ridicule I was going to get, or like anger, like, why would you do that? Let's just not talk about it.
In the future. So you thought you were going to have a future.
Yes! That was hopeful thinking. Or maybe it was wishful thinking. I'm not sure. Hopeful thinking wouldn't have done that. Wishful thinking, though. So at the hospital, I end up being put on a feeding tube. I could not even eat solid food because it had eaten away at my esophagus. It was just as well that I couldn't eat solid food because I couldn't taste anything. The acid had ate away at my taste buds, so I couldn't taste anything. But I tell you this story for two reasons. The first reason is that even in this horrible situation, I was able to learn something. Reflective experience. Remember, experience not the best teacher. A reflective experience. What can I learn from this? Even if it's a negative experience, how can I walk away better? And the thing that I learned is that acid whitens your teeth. Yeah. It's the secret to an award-winning smile. Acid. I don't recommend it, but it does work. Now here's the thing about this, is that I tell you this whole story because I had rose-colored glasses. Going into that day, I just said, this is going to work because it has to work. Here's the thing, I did have a secret to it. To everything, to every magic trick there is a secret. So I had a secret in place. But in rehearsals, it worked most of the time. Now here's the thing, in rehearsals I didn't use acid because why practice something that you can only fail once? So in rehearsal I use seltzer water. So I knew to avoid the seltzer water. So in rehearsals, the trick worked most of the time. Sometimes I still accidentally drank the seltzer water. So as the big day came along, my goal here was to impress. I wanted to impress my students. So because I was seeking to impress others, I put myself into a dangerous situation that I should not have been in. But I put on rose-colored glasses. I put on a positive attitude, and it nearly killed me. So the type of positivity that I'm talking about, not that. It's not ignoring reality, because that's what I was doing. I was ignoring the reality of the situation, which was I should not do this. So the positivity that I'm talking about honors reality. It co-creates, it doesn't ignore the negative words or the negative influences of life, but it seeks to focus on the positive and work with the negative ones to co-create positive outcomes. So when I think of positivity, my idea of positivity, the word that I think of when I say, oh, I'm positive, or let's focus on the positive, it's confidence. Because when we say that we're positive of something, we say, oh, I'm positive. Do we mean, I'm not sure? Or do we think, I only think this is true? Or do we rather mean, oh, I'm confident, I'm positive, an honest assessment of reality. That's what positivity is to me. So the idea of co-creating with reality, not ignoring the positive influence, but choosing to focus on the positive things rather than the negative ones. And ultimately it comes down to what kind of life do we want to live? Do we want to live a life of inspiration, motivation, affirmation, and joy? Or do we want to live a life of confusion, frustration, and affirmation of those things leading to despair? One of my favorite magic tricks, and the reason this is my favorite is because I think it beautifully summarizes everything we're talking about here today, is the famous dollar bill trick. Have you ever seen the dollar bill trick? I suppose there are a few dollar bill tricks, but this I think is the most famous. You can check this out. Make sure that is a real dollar bill that you might find in your own purse.
Yeah.
Real deal?
Want to check it out?
So this dollar bill is going to be a metaphor. What's a metaphor? It's for cows to graze in.
That is what a metaphor.
It's an absurd joke. But this will be a real metaphor. This dollar bill will represent our hopes and our dreams. When we start off with acceptance of reality, moving to positive fascination, curiosity with things, will naturally become inspired, which will motivate us into action to seek worthy goals, whatever it might be, whether it's something to do with our family, with our friends, with our health, our career, whatever the case may be, seeking to experience positive things in life. That's what this dollar bill represents. This is us right now, filled with our hopes and dreams. But if we could imagine this dollar bill to be anything other than just a $1 bill, what might we imagine this to be?
100,000?
1,000?
I don't know.
See,
Is there 1,000?
I don't think there is,
Oh,
but
okay.
actually there might be. I don't know. What I like about what you're saying is you're dreaming big,
Yes.
right? Because we could say, $2 bill, $5 bill. That's dreaming small. Now, in my personal experience, everything I've ever wanted, as long as I wanted it with all my heart, was willing to work for it and willing to ask for it, personally, I've been able to achieve, even if it didn't get exactly what I wanted, I was able to the experience of the journey towards it, develop the character to be able to experience joy. So if we're dreaming, we might as well dream big. I love your face.
Oh my.
Take a look. Make sure that is a real $100 bill.
Oh my god. As long as you have a lot of these. No, it's real. I don't know, is it real? I can't tell. I really don't know.
Looks real funky.
No, it's cool.
You know what? I like you folks. So I'll tell you what. If you leave with nothing else, it's not going to be this. It's going to be this thought. As real as this $100 bill
I've
is.
never seen the orange thing.
Yeah, this is the new style.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the new style. It kind of looks like a Monopoly money.
Yeah,
I think they want to make it look fake. So, but as real as our hopes and dreams are, as real as our desires and our ambitions are, this is only a dream right now. It really, achieving our dreams, whatever they might be, will never lead us to true and lasting happiness, because everything eventually goes away. Everything is temporary. So the true and lasting happiness is found in the moments in between, in the people that we meet along the way, and the meaningful memories that we have with them. Because in reality, we're just right here. What are we going to do with it? It's been a joy
That was a good one.
sharing with you. Thank you very much.
That's great.
It's nice meeting you folks.
Too.
Very welcome.
When you were the 13-year-old, I was picturing you dead, and people saying, he was crazy guy, but look at those white teeth.
The only thing I would say about your story about getting hooked is that you had an intuition about it.
Yes.
And yet you chose to continue, which I understand how if you're feeling it, that they would say, go with your intuition, your gut. So your gut was telling you something. Maybe, right? But you sort of didn't want to be, you wanted to be open-minded, you wanted to realize, like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not so sure this is my gut. It might not be a gut feeling about something bad that's about to happen. Maybe it's just,
Yeah. So.
something we just don't want to, yeah.
Yeah. So that happened. That was in 2007.
Yeah.
And upon reflective experience now, looking backwards, so I can look forward. What can I do next time? If I were to get into a similar situation, it's all, again, it's about positivity, happiness, the whole motivation part of positivity and happiness. It's taking consistent action, doing right actions, and really stacking our deck for success so we can achieve ultimately joy. And really, it's good to listen to our intuition, but it's also good to question it, saying, well, where is this coming from? Is this other people telling me?
That's right, because we don't know, and that's the thing, how do you do that? But I think that it's good, your point, and I think your point was also that you're grateful for the way it happened. Like I said, stay cool, and you took that. To me, it meant them saying, be cool, just give us the money and everything will be cool.
Just accept this. This is happening, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. And you looked at that in a way like, hey, that was positive, and so I think that.
It could have gone far worse. They could have killed me if they wanted to. They probably didn't even have a weapon. I was just too scared. I think now, if I were to get into a similar situation where I thought, oh, this doesn't seem right, but also not wanting to not give people chances, I think what I probably would do is get a buddy to go with me, not be on a street alone.
Right.
That would be a positive action that I would take now that I've had the time to experience it and think about it. And I've done lots of work in cities and small towns, and our gut knows a lot. So being able to honor that while also trying to figure out where is it coming from.
That's really important thing. It is. Well, thank you so much.
I'm glad you folks stayed.
I am so magic.
I have some gifts for